Good afternoon everyone. Do you think you have what it takes to be the once and future ruler of all of Terraria? Well, manage to get your mitts on this item and that's exactly what you become. Wait, what do you mean it's a different sword? Whatever, it's the enchanted blade from Terraria. The enchanted sword is a blade which is located within unique underground shrines, and while the weapon can be considered to be reasonably strong early on in an adventure, the only aspect which extends its usefulness beyond what might usually be expected for a sword of its strength is that it's able to fire a projectile known as the enchanted beam in a similar way to the Terra blade, making the enchanted sword more useful as a ranged weapon than anything else. The shrine in which the sword is located is often lush with greenery and encircled by water, despite it being in some ways underground. This might be because the majority of these shrines include a straight shaft leading almost the entire way to the surface, which allows some amount of sunlight to reach the small cavern. The sword itself can be found embedded within a stone at the shrine's centre, although retrieval of the blade does require breaking the pedestal. While this is reminiscent of the stories of King Arthur pulling Excalibur from the stone, the fact that the stone can be broken indicates that there's no real special charm placed on the shrine to judge a person's worthiness, plus a much more powerful sword, actually named Excalibur, exists elsewhere in Terraria. This all points to the similarities with the Arthurian legend being simply coincidental. An interesting point to note is that not all shrines contain an enchanted sword, with many containing what appears to be a sword that simply crumbles to nothing when the stone is broken. However, on rare occasions, the shrine may hold a completely different, albeit less powerful, blade called the Terraria. Stories tell that a more powerful variant of this blade once resided within some shrines, named the Arcalis, but is now thought to be the sole property of one of Terraria's creators. Regardless, both of these variants are non-ranged, but do have an extremely fast swing rate, which can be useful for keeping close enemies at bay. There is no strict information or history that reveals why these enchanted swords are embedded deep into rock underground, but legends considers that these were once the weapons of the Sirens, precursors to the Harpies prior to being corrupted, who occupied the floating islands. It is said that the Sirens tore great chunks of rock from Terraria's surface, levitating them into the air so that they may escape the ongoing cataclysms below. Unfortunately, they were unable to contain the scourge to the surface, and were forced to create enchanted swords in an attempt to purge the darkness from their own kind. When this inevitably failed, the blades supposedly slipped from the grip of those who once wielded them, and they fell to the ground, cutting through the earth and burrowing themselves into bedrock, leaving a shaft where they had fallen. If true, it can be considered that many of the enchanted swords may have lost their power and rusted away to nothing, leaving only a few usable examples remaining, and that the Terraria may have been some sort of rare close quarters blade, potentially reserved for high-ranking Sirens. Whatever the history of the blade though, it is clearly of enough significance that it's included in the recipe for the Zenith, and continues to be sought out by many an adventurer throughout history. While not exactly a unique type of weapon, its effect being mimicked several times in other, often more powerful blades, most notably the Terra blade, the enchanted sword is certainly an interesting item, if for no other reason than the way in which it is encountered, and the possibilities that are hinted at about its origin. Even excluding the ideas presented in Legends material, it is so easy to imagine all sorts of fascinating history for the weapon, and for that reason alone, it must be given at least an artifact rating of significant. So it's been a minute since I've caught up with the Arthur myths. Did he actually get Excalibur from the stone, or was it the Lady of the Lake who gave it to him? Or did she give it to Merlin and it somehow ended up in the stone? Or did somebody just yeet it into the lake and the lady was so annoyed that she shoved it in a stone? I'm sorry, got a bit off topic there. Please subscribe for more course content, become a patron or channel member for early access to my other lecture series, profiles, and be sure to share the course with all of your friends, whether they like it or not. Make sure to watch out for any watery tarts throwing scimitars at you, and have a great week.